This is part 2 of my conversation with Dan from the Cryptid podcast. I do highly recommend that you go back and watch part 1.
Deep in southeast Alaska, a man meets a stranger on a forest trail. But locals call it a Kushtaka, an otter man that wears a human shape. On Myths, Monsters, and Mullets, we hear how it asked for a cigarette, then warned him not to whistle in the woods. When it stepped off the trail, it didn't walk away. It disappeared.
Out in the woods, shadows creep slow. Footprints deep where no man should go. Cold winds howl through hollers and brooks. Whispers of Bigfoot in the way it looks. Myths, monsters, and bullets in the night. Under a pale moon, strange glowing light. Truth out there like a blade it cuts. Myths, monsters, and bullets run amok.
Welcome back to Myths, Monsters, and Mullets, the show where the strange, the unexplained, and the weird take center stage, and where the people behind the encounters matter just as much as the encounters themselves. We're not here just to talk about what was seen. We're here to understand who saw it, how it changed them, and why it still matters. Before we dive in, quick shout out to our supporters over on Patreon. If you want to help keep the show independent, ad-free, and unapologetically weird, head over to Patreon for members-only episodes, early access to public episodes, and bonus material you won't see or hear anywhere else. If you've had an encounter or something weird you've just never been able to explain, I want to hear from you. Email me at mythsandmullets@gmail.com. That's mythsandmullets@gmail.com. Your experience can be featured on a future episode. Don't forget to mark your calendars, June 6th, 2026. I'll be speaking at the Arkansas Cryptid Fest in North Little Rock, Arkansas. If you're into cryptids, folklore, and listening to great speakers, that's where you need to be. If you haven't yet, make sure you're subscribed, leave us a review, share the show with a friend who lives for the unexplained. That's the only way we can grow. Okay, we're back. This will be part 2. You were at, did you say Fort Allen?
No, Fort Dix. I got you again. Man, he must love the abuse. But anyway.
Oh, he does.
So, no, I was at Fort Dix, New Jersey. I was Air Force Security Police. And, our primary goal, duty is to defend an air base. And so that's what we're there for. Also ground combat training. So we were trained. I later found out that a couple of our instructors were Rangers as well. So, these guys, they put us through all sorts of different types of training. We had live fire training. I mean, just some cool stuff. I got to shoot the 50 cal, throw hand grenades, shoot the Laws rocket. Again, I'm dating myself, you guys. This is like in the early 90s. And so we would go on like bivouac. We'd go out and do exercises in the Pine Barrens. And we were out there doing like a defense of a mock air base and that type of stuff. And some of our training, some of the things we went out on were like patrols. And they were teaching us, tactics on how to patrol, things you want to do, things you don't want to do, all that kind of things. And we were set to take this certain route that would walk us into an ambush. We knew the ambush was there. And this was a training scenario to where, one, how did this other squad kick the ambush off? Like, how did they start the ambush? Did they do it in the right manner? Did they have it set up just right? And then us, is we were going to be, trained and evaluated to see how we reacted to the ambush. Did we give it back to them? Did we just scatter like a bunch of scared, whatever? And it was at nighttime. And, there was a little bit of starlight and moon, not super bright. And I was point man. I was about 20 meters ahead of the rest of my squad. Our instructor with us had like nods that he would put up, you know, but we didn't have nods. We didn't have nods or night vision goggles. We didn't have those. So as I'm moving along this trail, this road. Now this road is big enough for like a deuce and a half. It's a big military truck to drive right down the middle, you know, and you could have like a smaller vehicle on both sides of it. So it was a pretty wide road. But I'm not walking on the road. I'm not walking direct. I'm kind of staying off in the bush a little bit, you know, because that's what they're teaching us to do. And as I'm walking, all of a sudden, about 75 meters, if that, ahead of me, something stands up on the left-hand side of the road. And it was huge. It was big enough to where I immediately went down to a knee. And the instructor saw me stop. So he comes running back up. Now, when I dropped to a knee, this thing dropped down. He comes running up, the instructor. He's like, Hamilton, what the F are you doing? You know, get your ass up and do this and this and this. And I'm like, I go, Sergeant, I just saw something stand up about 75 meters, you know, up on the left-hand side. So he gets his nods and he's looking over there. He's like, I don't see S. You know, GD, get your A up, you know, and let's get moving. And we're already behind. Like, he's giving me the and he's not being super quiet about it. I'm like, okay. So I stand up. John, I take probably 25, maybe 30 steps, and this thing jumps from where I watched it stand up. It jumped from there, landed in the middle of the road, and then sprung off to the other side, and then took off in a diagonal direction from us. Now, when I see this thing jump up and land in the middle of this road, I immediately drop down to the prone, and I roll. Because that's what they teach you, drop and roll to a different position. Because if something sees you, or like someone sees you, if you just drop down, they're still going to have a good sight. You want to drop and roll to your side so you can, you know, kind of throw their sight picture off. And I tried to roll up underneath these bushes that I was next to. And this thing is just ripping through the woods. You hear it. It's not being quiet. It's letting things and people around know that I'm coming through. My instructor again runs up, and he's like, what the? He's just giving it to me. I'm like, it just jumped across the road. I watch it. It's taking, and you could hear it. I go, there it is. It's going. And a couple seconds later, you hear automatic weapons fire. You hear M60 kick off. You hear M16 starting to shoot. All of a sudden, you hear people, ceasefire, ceasefire. And our instructor, he's like, let's go. Everybody gets up, and we're in a dead sprint as this is going on. And this is when you hear ceasefire, ceasefire. We get there. Their instructor, who was watching these guys in the ambush, comes running over to our instructor, and they just start jawing at each other. Well, he's sending a guy over. What are you doing? It ran right through our position, and blah, blah, blah. He's like, what are you talking about? He goes, I got all my guys. He goes, well, something huge ran right through our position, scared the hell out of a couple of my airmen, and they started shooting like crazy. And the whole meantime, you hear this thing off in the distance, just ripping through the woods. And I just stood there and I just looked. I know what
you knew what it was.
I knew what it was. I couldn't tell you the color. Because to me, it was just a big shadow.
Yeah.
And it took off through the woods.
Wow.
And that's what I consider my possible second sighting.
So, did either of these commanders, you know...
I told my sergeant, I go, Sergeant, I know what I saw. He goes, you didn't see nothing, Hamilton. You just think you saw something. I go, no, I know what I saw. I'm telling you right now, anybody who's been on Fort Dix for any period of time, that's gone on any training out in the Pine Barrens, or any military base like Fort Lewis or anything like that, you think for 1 second that those people out that's been at those bases for any extended period of time, or in this training areas, they've seen something or they've heard something. There's no way in heck you're going to tell me that they haven't, especially if something like that happens.
You hear all kinds of encounters from military installations
Well,
and bases and
Matt
stuff.
had one,
Right.
you know?
I wasn't going to give him any airtime, but I guess we'll talk about Matthew Orton.
Yeah, well, that's all we needed to talk about. But, it's seriously, so, I mean, and again, I caught a rash of crap. Oh, Hamilton thought he saw Bigfoot. You know? Okay, go ahead. I know what I saw. I know what I heard. So, but let me tell you
Right.
about my, unless you got questions about that.
No, the only really question I had, did anybody else see or report that they saw anything during that encounter?
Nope.
I mean, obviously they started shooting at something.
They said, from what I understand, is that the 60 gunner that opened up and the other 2 airmen, from what I understand, that started shooting, they started shooting because the M60 opened up. The M60 said all he heard was something moving quickly through the woods right in front of his lane of fire.
Gotcha.
And
Okay.
and he just started opening up. And then they said it literally came running through their ambush. And so, but no one saw it. But listen, when you hear a bull or an elephant or the juggernaut running through the woods past behind you, what is it?
Right.
Yeah.
So you didn't really get any kind of detail on this, just
Nope.
big shadow.
It was wide. Oh, I saw a form.
Okay.
It was wide, conservatively guessing, maybe 7.5 feet tall.
Wow.
But it was so quick. Like, it was quick. 1 foot hit, it's like it came over, boing, and then took another leap. It didn't, it just, you've seen the Olympics.
How many feet wide did you say this road was?
How wide is a deuce and a half?
I don't know. I've only ever taken one deuce.
Nice. I don't know how. Well, you know what? Here, let's do the old Googleator here. Hold on one second.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Okay. So this road was easy. They're saying they're roughly 8 feet wide.
Okay.
So maybe 21 feet wide, maybe
Okay.
if that. Yeah.
And that's I was curious because you said it took basically one step in the middle and then it was out the other side.
Yep. It sprung, jumped the middle, and it was boom. It was gone on the other side.
That'll have some bearing when we record for your show.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Now let me tell you about my most recent encounter. Okay. This is definitely 100% Class B encounter. So I was just in Michigan and I was hanging out at, I'm just going to call them my son's in-laws. Okay. They're not married yet. My son and his fiance, they're not married yet. They have a child together, and we were there celebrating her 2nd birthday, my granddaughter's birthday. And we drove from Minnesota up through the UP and then down to where they live. They live near Cadillac, Michigan. Okay. Now, if you're not familiar with Cadillac, you have the Manistee National Forest there. The property that his in-laws own, 38 acres, literally butts right up to this forest. He walks out the back of his 38 acres. He gets to acre 39. He's inside the Manistee National Forest. Like, okay. Now, I asked him, when we first met, hey, you got anything going on out here? And he's like, no, and I've never seen it. I go, man, you've walked these woods the entire, you've lived here over 20 years. You've never seen her. He's like, no, never heard, never seen, nothing. And in my mind, I'm like, you're full of crap. I know you have. You just don't want to talk about it, right?
Because Manistee is a hot spot.
Yes. So the whole time we were there, I'm out there with my son. I'm out there with my daughter-in-law. I'm out there with my son's is really cool. His best friend is pretty much engaged to my daughter-in-law's sister.
Okay.
Okay. So we're all there getting ready to celebrate, my granddaughter's second birthday. But me and the kids were all hanging out, and I'm out there making calls. I'm out there hooping, yelling, whoop, just loud ones, right? And you could hear it echo, and it's pissing the dogs off. The dogs that are on the farms that are around there, they're losing their mind. You can hear them. They're losing. So to me, that's an indicator that they've heard this before. Okay. So, and I've done a couple tree knocks, whatever. So we were leaving Sunday night. This happened Saturday night. We had just had dinner. We were back at the place, and I was going to get something out of our vehicle. And so it was just me out there. And as I go walking out, I just went whoop, just like that. Not super loud, but a little louder than what I just did. I get to our vehicle. John, I kid you not, I hear whack, whack, whack. Like 4 seconds, 5 seconds later. And it sounds like it's coming to about 200 yards, like in front of me.
Wow.
I'm surrounded by woods, by forest. And I'm like, oh, smokes. Now, it's hunting season up there. My son's father-in-law he hunts his land, and he's in his woods every single day. His father-in-law was in the house at this time. Everybody that we've been spending time with these couple of days were in the house. And I just stood there and I listened for a couple of minutes, trying to see if I could hear something moving, if it would react again, but it didn't. So I quickly walked back into the house and didn't say anything to him. So the next day, we were talking, me, my daughter-in-law, my son, my son's mother-in-law, we were all just chatting. And her dad had come into the house. He was out in the woods. And I said, man, it'd be cool, honestly, if you guys ever caught anything on any of the trail cams that your dad, because your dad's probably he's got trail cams out there. Oh, he used to have a lot of trail cams all over the property, but now he only has a few. And I go, oh, she goes, yeah, we actually caught something one time on the trail cam. And I go, I go, what did you catch? And she's like, well, I don't know. My dad said it looked like a bear with mange. And I go, really? And she goes, yeah. And she gets on her phone and she starts looking for a picture. Now, she goes, yeah, my dad has it. We have it on a SD card. My dad doesn't erase anything. He just puts a new SD card in. And I'm like, oh, really? I said, so you have that picture? And she's like, well, we don't have it, but it's on SD. We'll find it. And this is what she sent me, man. And I'm kidding you. When she showed me this picture, it freaked me out. I don't know if you can see this.
That's what she said she caught? That's her picture?
No, that's not their picture. She said that is the closest that she could find of what they caught on the trail cam. Not one picture, not two pictures, but 3 pictures of it. 3 pictures of it. And I go, do you know what that is? And she's like, well, it's creepy. I go, yeah. I go, that's a rake.
Yeah.
That's a pale crawler. And she's like, she goes, you mean a skinwalker? I go, no, not a skinwalker. It's different. I'm getting goosebumps, dude, because they're going to look for those SD cards. And when they find those pictures, they're going to send those pictures to me.
And then you're going to send them to me.
I will. And I'm going to post them, and we're going to have a good old time with them.
Holy cow.
Yeah. So that's, yeah. Manistee National Forest, man.
My son was up near there It was last winter.
Yeah.
He was up there for a bachelor party or something.
Mhm.
They were at like some kind of ski resort, and I texted him. I was like, "Hey, what you doing?" And he's like, "Hey, I'm up this I'm up in Michigan for this thing." And I was like, "Well, let me know if you're running a dog man." You know, half tongue in cheek.
Mhm.
Next morning, he calls me. He says, "Hey, what's dog man sound like?" And I was like, "Well, there's been different reports, but one of the things I've heard is it sounds like half man, half wolf. It sounds like a man howling."
Mhm.
They heard it. That's
No
exactly what they had
kidding.
heard the night before. Yeah,
No kidding, dude. That's crazy, man.
yeah. That
That's
was at
crazy.
Manistee.
Well, it went a couple years ago. We were staying in Cadillac. We were staying at a hotel there, and behind the hotel, it's all like woods and marsh. And I remember I was walking out to the truck at night, and I had my back door open of my truck. I have a crew cab, and I'm in there looking at, and I hear this noise like something just got thrown. And I'm like, "What the heck was that?" So I turn around and I have a super bright flashlight. And I whipped around just in time to see like a log come flying through the air and landing right at the edge of the woods, hitting like another dead tree. And I'm like, "What the heck is that?" Shut
So
my
it was going horizontal.
it
It wasn't coming.
it was like going like this.
Oh wow.
And I'm like, "What the heck was that?" In my again, I'm dumbfounded. I don't know what's going on. Again, I'm not gonna say it was a Bigfoot throwing something at me. I'm not gonna say that. I don't know what it was. But why, like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, there's a small little light in the back of this parking area because we were parked on the back side of the hotel, and just so happens right there at the tree line, it's marsh and woods, and then all of a sudden this branch or tree or whatever is getting tossed through the air. So I just walked
Wow.
back in. I go, "Man, that was really weird." I said, "I think like a dead tree fell back there, you know?" And so I go walking back into the hotel room and stuff, and didn't think anything of it. Got up in the morning and decided to walk over there. This time I had a pew pew with me. Just kind of walked over there, and sure enough, there it was. I saw it, just right there. And I go, "Man, there is no way." I said, "Man, did that really happen?" Again, my wife does not believe. She just does it. It is not in her wheelhouse.
Right.
I told her, I said, if I have Jesus and Sasquatch walking hand in hand from the woods onto a road right in front of us, and it had a sign, "I am Jesus, I created it," or "This is all," my wife, she said, I would look at you and say, "Okay, how much did you pay those guys to do that?" Yeah, she would not believe it. She believes in Jesus,
Yeah.
but does not believe in Sasquatch.
Yeah.
So I got to try to figure a
'Cause-
way to get her on either Lake Mitchell, because that's where Rob from Bigfoot, Michigan, Rob, he had his encounter on Lake Mitchell, which is right there, which it joins up with Lake Cadillac.
Okay.
And yeah, I feel I got to get her on Lake Mitchell, and hopefully she'll have an encounter. I can't wait till she has an encounter.
And it's not her fault.
No.
If she's never had any kind of an encounter,
Mm-mm.
has she ever had like ghost encounter or anything like that?
I think she has, but she really won't talk about it.
I think that's another common thing.
Yeah.
That's how my wife is. Like I asked her before, because she knows my experiences.
Yeah.
Um, her thought process is, I know this stuff exists, but I don't want to think about it,
Yeah.
because if I don't think about it, then I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of people like that too.
Yeah. Oh no, 100%. You know, I think she's had some encounters, but you know, with spiritual things. But
Right.
so, how much more time we
Man,
got?
I don't have time limits.
Good. Okay. Let's talk. You want to talk about? You want to hear about my dad's encounters? I'll even tell you about one of my grandfather's encounters that I heard from my dad.
Absolutely.
So
Let's do it.
again, this is up in Alaska. And I know people on my channel have heard me talk about the Kushtaka. I've been asked, what's your favorite cryptid? I go, I have two: Bigfoot and the Kushtaka. And for people who don't know what the Kushtaka is a southeastern Alaskan shape changer. It's not a skinwalker. It's also known as the Otter Man.
Yep.
Because it shifts from a large sea otter to a half sea otter, half man, or to a full man, or any combination in between. Okay?
Right.
They're tricksters. Depending on how you approach them or how they approach you, either your life is at an end or you live to see another day. My dad, when he was about 16 years old, was, I want to say, I believe, is pulling a wagon out into the woods to get some firewood. Anybody who has any property and you cut wood on your property, you're going to stack wood, split wood where you cut it. And then when you need it, like when it comes in to the next season, you're going to let it dry in place. Then you're going to go get it. You're going to stack it all up. Not everybody does that, but I've seen it done more times than not. And so that's what my dad was doing. Now, honestly, to tell you the truth, I think my dad was going out to smoke cigarettes, you know, because he'd been smoking since he was like 12. So he's going out there, and there's a path that goes through their property into the woods they have behind their property. They own all of this property. And to get there, you've got to go through all these woods, and you could wind up in their backyard. But they own a lot of acreage. And so as he's walking through the path, it comes to a part where it's a straightaway, then there's like a bend to the right, and he was going to go around the bend, and then there's some areas where he was going to stack the firewood and then bring it back and do that a few times, right? Well, as he's walking out there, he said, I was getting ready to pull my pack of cigarettes out of my pocket, and I looked up, and I see this man coming around that bend, walking right towards me. And I'm looking at my dad, and I'm like, okay, you got some stranger. Now, he didn't tell me it was a Kushtaka, right? Okay, I was 16 when he told me the story, 15, 16. And he's like, yeah, and he looked unkempt. You know, he didn't want to call him a bum or what, but he just didn't look right. So as this guy's walking closer, my dad stops. Like, he stopped in the middle of the pathway now, and he's watching this guy walk towards him. And, you know, the whole time my dad was walking out in the woods, he was whistling and things. My dad was a very good whistler, and whenever my dad was in a good mood, he would whistle. If you heard my dad whistling, he was in a really good mood. And so he was whistling, and when he saw the guy, he stopped whistling, and the guy kept walking towards him. As soon as he gets right up to my dad, and my dad looked at him, and he said he just looked off. But then he goes, hey, do you have a cigarette? And my dad goes, yeah. And he reached into his pocket and gave the guy 2 cigarettes. And he grabbed one, and he stuck it up like behind his ear, and he said he had the other one in his hand. And he goes, I was reaching to see if he wanted me to light it, but he just started walking by me. And he goes, I'm following him. I'm turning and watching him walk away. And he gets about, I don't know, he said, my dad said a little ways behind him. And the guy stopped and looked over his right shoulder and said to my dad, you shouldn't be whistling in the woods because you don't know what's out here. And he just started walking again. And my dad now, I'm getting goosebumps talking about this because,
That's freaky, dude.
my dad is now completely facing this guy, watching him walk away from him. And he abruptly turned to his left and walked off into the woods. There's no path there. He just abruptly turned his left and walked. Because if he would have kept going down this path, he'd have walked into the backyard of where my dad lived. But he just abruptly turned his left and walked off in the woods. Now, the woods were not dense. They were sparse. You could see things move easily through the trees, no problem. He goes, Daniel, I watched this guy disappear. And I go, what? He goes, it was the Kushtaka. And I go, what is a Kushtaka? He goes, that's the otter man. And I go, otter man, are you kidding me? Ooh, it's the otter man. What? You mean to tell me it's one of those cute little sea otters that, yeah, that's real scary. Dad, that's real scary. And I could tell my dad, I mean, he was hurt that I'm making fun of this. And where my dad told me this, it was at our house when we lived in Lacey, Washington, and he had a friend from Ketchikan that he had known, all through childhood, high school, and his name was John, and John was a Tlingit,
He was a good-looking dude, because all Johns are.
He's a Native American. His tribe is Tlingit, right? And he goes, John, tell him. And it wasn't, I don't know, I don't understand what it was, but I felt like I was getting scolded by someone I had only met a few hours earlier. This is a friend from my dad's past, right? And he's like, he's like, no. He goes, your dad saw one. It's not funny. And I felt like the biggest jerk. And he goes, when you have our elders tell you the stories of the Kushtaka, you need to listen. And you never whistle in the woods, because you don't know what is in those woods. And I immediately started getting freaked out. He's like, yes, your dad saw one. And I'm like, holy smokes. And so I started looking things up about the Kushtaka. And I recently had Fred Roll from Subarctic Alaska Sasquatch on one of my live streams. And he told a story of the Kushtaka. There was this man who had a cabin that was up on stilts. And he had set some crab pots out in the bay. And he noticed that he saw this rather large otter out there. And whenever he would go in and pull his crab pots, he would have no crab. So he's under the assumption that this thing is robbing his crab pots. He's eating these crab. So one day he sees it out there, and he throws a rock out to it to scare it away. But it doesn't scare it away. So he throws another rock, and then it dips underneath the ground, underneath the water. So he goes back in, and he's sitting out, and he's looking out the window, and he sees that thing. He sees that otter pop back up. So he goes back out again, and he grabs rocks, and he throws it out there towards it again. And I think he said this time he hit it. And so it turned and started swimming towards the shore. So this isn't your regular behavior.
Right. It
So
should have ran or swam away.
yeah. So this guy runs back up, gets into his cabin, and he's watching this thing. And this thing is swimming, and next thing you know, it starts standing up. He said it was the Kushtaka. Like, it walked out of the water, and it attacked his cabin. It pushed his cabin over, like, off of the stilts. And the guy, the wood-burning stove almost landed on this guy while he was in there. And this thing attacked his cabin.
Wow.
And I mean, what
you
do you
say this is on your live?
Yeah,
Or it's on one of your recordings?
Yeah, it was on the 50 States of Fear, Alaska.
Okay.
So it was just the last one I had last week. So he tells that story. And again, I probably have some of the story wrong, but the essence of the story is this guy who had crab pots out, this thing was, he believes, was taking crabs out of his crab pot. He got mad, I guess threw some rocks or something at it. It pissed it off, and it came up out of the water and attacked his cabin.
Wow.
And the guy left. He sold his property. Yeah, he's like, I'm done with that. But I mean, Alaska's crazy with things. Another thing my dad, is he believed in werewolves. Until the day he died, he believed in werewolves. Because I don't know if it was right before he was going to basic training or if he was being shipped out to Vietnam. But he was home and he wanted to do one last hunt. He wanted to get hunt. He was a big hunter. And so as he's driving up this logging road, he sees a herd of mule deer come down off this ridge, across the road, down into like a little ravine, and then up another ridge across the way. And so he sees all these muleys come flying across the road. He stops. He sees the last one. He gets out. He's got his rifle, 30-06. Got all of his stuff. He goes running to where they went down the ravine. He sets up. He gets in the prone position, and he's looking through his binoculars, and he's looking to see how spread out through this ravine are these muleys. And as he's looking, he's scanning the ridge line across the way, probably between 300 and 500 yards. Easy shot for my dad. So he's looking, and as he's scanned to the left, and as he's getting ready to move back to the right, he sees something coming into view, and it's moving quick. And so he moves back, overshoots it, adjusts it, and he says, I see the largest, blackest wolf I've ever seen. Ever in my life. And so I'm sitting and I'm talking to, I'm listening to him tell me the story. And he goes, I'm watching this thing with binoculars, and it probably travels another, however many yards, and it stops next to this tree, and it stands up and puts its hand up on the tree, and it starts sniffing the air. And he goes, all of a sudden, it just goes like this. And makes eye contact with my dad. While my dad's looking at it through the binoculars. And it slowly starts showing its teeth. And he's like, oh. My dad couldn't believe what he was looking at. Then it dropped down to all fours. And started coming towards my dad.
Oh, wow.
And my dad says it got down into the lower brush part of this ravine. And he lost sight of it. So he gets his rifle and he starts scoping down where he believes it's coming through, and he's looking and he's starting to panic because he can't pick it up right away. But then he sees it, and he says he sees it as its head was coming through this brush, and it was laser locked on where my dad was, and he said it looked like it was snarling, and he had everything ready to go. He took the safety off of his rifle, and he was ready to shoot. He said this thing was probably about 200 yards, if that, away from him. And he's scoped in on the scene. He's looking, and one of those muleys made a noise. I don't know if it bugled. I don't know if it farted, if it burped. I don't know what it did. But he said it made a noise, and it broke its concentration. It looked back at my dad, and then disappeared back into the brush. So he's still watching now. He's again scanning, and he sees this thing taking off up on the other side of the other ridge across from him. And he's watching it go towards where these muleys are. And he stops, and he's still got it on its scope. He said it stops again, stands up, puts his hand back up on a tree, looks right at my dad, and shows his teeth again like, I'll get you next time. And then he said on two legs, it ran up the rest of the part of that ridge, over the crest of the ridge, and down the backside where the mule deer went. Yeah. My dad was terrified. I could see the look in my dad's face. My dad was terrified.
Yeah, I would be too.
And,
But-
from that day, he never, if anything would come on, like The Howling or American Werewolf in London or anything like that, any werewolf type thing, my dad couldn't shut the TV off. And he wouldn't change the channel. He would shut the TV off.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, so do you I mean, to me, it sounds more like Dogman than werewolf.
Don't know, dude. My dad says werewolf.
Right.
My dad passed away not knowing the word dogman, I don't think.
Right. That was where I was going with that. Was Dogman is relatively a new term.
Mm-hmm.
It's a rebranding.
Mm-hmm.
They would talk about cynocephaly and then the dog-headed men,
Mm-hmm.
but Dogman is really kind of a new term. So in his frame of reference, it was werewolf.
Yep.
That's what he knew. Wow.
Yeah. He told me that, and again, told me once. Kushtaka told me once. Never talked about him again. Never.
Wow. So it had an impact on him.
Oh,
then.
huge impact.
Holy cow.
So much so as I know my dad never went into the woods again without being armed. Ever.
Wow.
Armed in some way, shape, or form.
Holy cow.
Either he'd have a knife and a pretty nice sized walking stick with him or something like that,
Right.
Yeah. And then my grandfather, he was a logger up in Alaska, and I remember him and his crew. This is what my dad had told me, and my uncle, who has since passed away, he also relayed this. My grandfather was a logger. Him and his crew, they went to this one site, this one area that was supposed to be logged. Now, there was a crew in earlier, but they just stopped logging for whatever reason. So a new crew, my grandfather, the yard operator, the yarder that was up on the pad, another limber, because my granddad was like the foreman of the whole crew, and he would be up on the pad, and he would just limb the trees as they come up, because they didn't have one of those fancy machines that delimbed everything, and then they had something that would grab it and then put it up on the truck that was there. But they were up there piling all these logs in just to get them ready to be picked up by a truck. They would load it up. And he had like 4 guys down the hillside they would set the chokers. And so they're down there and they're doing whatever. And my grandfather, from what my dad says, went up to the yard operator and goes, "Hey, when you bring this last load up, sound the horn, let him know it's lunchtime. We're going to have lunch up here." Not a problem. So last load comes up. It's up on the landing. He sounds the horn that's on the yarder. And he said on the last sound, this scream came from the bottom of the hill, from the tree line. He said it was so loud, it felt like it just swept up the hillside. Now, the guys were not even up on the landing. They were still down below. They were making their way up to the top. And he goes, "I watched 4 grown men almost look like they levitated up the hillside. They were moving so fast. These guys were hopping over fallen trees, running across fallen trees, jumping onto stumps." He said they did everything they could to get up that hill and up on the pad as fast as they could. No one said a word. They all heard it. They all went right to their service trucks, and left. They were there like maybe a week, and they didn't go back and log that area.
Wow.
That's bananas.
And I mean, you're talking about people that are in the woods all the time. So they
Yep.
see all this kind of stuff, and something to affect them that way.
Yep.
Yeah. That's impressive.
Heck yeah. So, yeah, that's that.
Well, Dan.
Yeah.
This is definitely a two-part episode. So, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you?
Sure. Well, if you guys are interested, and I hope you guys are, come on over to YouTube and check me out on the Cryptid podcast. I'm also found on Spotify, Apple Podcast now, iHeartRadio podcast, Amazon Music, anywhere you can pretty much listen to a podcast. Hopefully I'm there. And if you guys are, send me an email at send me an email at the Cryptid Podcast 72, the number 7, the number 2, at gmail.com. I would love to hear where you guys are listening to me. You know, where you guys are getting the Cryptid Podcast. I'd love it. So, and just let you guys know, it's a safe place for you guys to come, share your encounter. I have a lot of people that email me, hey, I just want to let you know, I'd like to come on the podcast, but I'm not sure yet. I get it. I understand it. There's no pressure. And I've had a lot of people say, hey, this is the first time I've ever told my story outside of a couple of close friends or a couple of close family members. I'm nervous.
Yeah.
I'm you guys, I'm there for you. I want to protect you as much as I possibly can. I want you to know that you feel comfortable and confident that, you know, it's okay to tell your story, share your story. And that's what the Cryptid Podcast is. It's a safe place for you guys to come, share your encounters, and know that you're not going to be chastised. You're not going to be, disrespected. I can't control what people jump in the chat and say, but if they get kind of rude to you, those comments get removed because I'm not going to have anybody mess with my guests, because my guests become part of my cryptid crew. They become part of my cryptid family. So I don't play that game. So please, Cryptid Podcast 72 at gmail.com. If you'd like to come on the show, share an encounter, tell someone, about the show. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And I'll put a bunch of links down in the description.
Cool.
So, Dano, thanks again for coming on Myths, Monsters, and Mullets.
It's a pleasure, man. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely.
All right.
We're getting ready to do some recording for your show.
Cool.
So, and if you've had a paranormal encounter you'd like to share and you don't want to talk to Dano, you'd rather talk to the mullet, you can send me an email at mythsandmullets@gmail.com. Until next time, I'll talk to you later. Gotta go. And that's it for tonight. If you haven't yet, make sure you're checking out the descriptions on all my videos. You're going to find a list of all my favorite podcasts, from Nevermore Hollows, Drunken Cryptid, Chumming with the Spirits, Ghost Gossip, and so much more. And if you've had a paranormal encounter you'd like to share, you can email me at mythsandmullets@gmail.com. Good night, everyone.
Shadow in the pines lurking in the dusky air. Bigfoot stomps through the woods like he don't care. Lights in the sky flash green then blue. Aliens descending with a secret or two. Whispers in the breeze, cold fingers down your spine. Ghosts in the graveyard, twisting through time. Eyes wide open in the dead of night. The myths and monsters giving one hell of a fright. Oh, Myths, Monsters, and Mullets podcast, spinning wild tales of a future and a past. Hosted by John Methenkamp's fiery soul. He takes us where the wild unknown flows. Oh, Myths, Monsters, and Mullets podcast, spinning wild tales of a future and a past. Hosted by John Methenkamp's fiery soul. He takes us where the wild unknown flows. Down by the bayou, you hear a raspy growl. Swamp gas glowing as the coyotes howl. A UFO